Welcome in for week 11 of the Climate Tech Inc. NFL Prediction Show. We are fully into the double digits now, and last week, not the best week for Vince wise. Actually, not the best week for me either. I was pretty close to 500, but it still went better for me. Now I have more of an advantage, but we'll get to that when we get to the NFL side of this. First, we want to start off again by talking about our wonderful sponsor, Climate Tech Inc. For 48 years, family-owned and operated, Climate Tech has been the premier company for all HVAC services for both residential and commercial. They have it covered. They offer free estimates on equipment replacement and 24-hour emergency service. Visit them at climate-tech.com. And Vince, as always, wonderful to be with you. We love this show every single week. It is a blast. And we're going to have a good one to talk about. Of course, the Browns game that we're going to talk about at the end, weather could be a big factor, but some of these other games could be impacted by weather throughout the week, as it's kind of that New York area. We got a little bit of maybe Pennsylvania might get hit, maybe here in Northeast Ohio, not to the same level. Hey, Maction right now. It's snowing up in Michigan at the moment. So winter weather is upon us as we hit late football season in college, in high school, and we're well past the midway point in the NFL.
Yeah, definitely glad to be here again for another week of NFL picking. Should be a lot of fun. The weather is going to make some of these games very, very interesting. I know Emily last night, my wife at Toledo grad, was not very happy with the Rockets. You mentioned Maction. They fell to Bowling Green, which was a pretty sizable upset in the MAC. To your point about last week, a couple of things there. I felt so confident about those picks. It's wild to me because I went into that week thinking like, okay, that I might be able to make a move. I was down one at the time to you. I thought maybe I could tie or get above you there. And it just started real, real rough. First two games right out of the gate. Thursday night and then London, back-to-back losses for me. Before I could even really sip my coffee on Sunday morning, I'm down 3 games. So made for a long weekend, and then through the power of Yahoo Sports, which I've been picking football games since I've been in the 8th grade. So, guys, we're going back a long time, maybe 26 years of doing this. I'm able to actually go back. It shows you how you do each year, which is really cool. That was the worst week I've ever had. The absolute worst. I picked 5 games correct, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Just crazy. So I'm trying a new strategy this week. No longer am I caring about who the underdog is, who the favorite is. I'm not caring about how me and Cole feel about them personally, how we felt about them before the season started. None of that. I don't care if it's a home, if it's away. This week, I'm strictly picking who I think the better team is. I don't care if they're playing on Mars, in London, in a bubble bath. I could care less. Like, I am picking the better team, and we're going to see how it works out. So let's get to it.
You don't want to take a dartboard and just stick little papers up there with the names and see whichever one you hit?
I could have did better last week by doing the whole dartboard thing. Hey, full disclosure. Before I met my wife, I dated this girl a long time ago, and we would always do the 64, the NCAA tournament of 64, which everybody does. Nothing special about that. It's the most common pick'em thing there is.
The brackets, yeah,
and she was really good at it, and she would win a lot of times by strictly picking. She had certain rules, right? And if it was a school with the word tech in it, she wouldn't pick any kind of tech because she said those are smart kids. They're probably going to lose at the jocks. She just had all kinds of like crazy scenarios that somehow worked. So we will see. You go back and look at things, and it's wild. I was looking back at the teams I've covered this year in the playoffs, and I didn't even do it on purpose for high school football. I've actually covered a private school every single week so far without even trying to do it. Ignatius Ads, and then last week with EC and Holy Name. So it's weird, the different things you do subconsciously. But whatever the case may be, 5 wins, inexcusable. We need to turn this around.
Well, let's get to the college picks first.
Yes.
And then we'll see if you can turn around when we get to the NFL picks here in a moment. Starting with the top 25, we're going to go out to the West Coast with the Pac-12. 2 California schools in the top 25. Number 8 USC, number 12 UCLA. Vince, how do you feel about this one?
Really love UCLA. I've said it on the show numerous times. I think they're a lot better this year than I have actually picked against them a few times. But USC, there's just something about them. I actually think this might be their year. They might even slip into the bowl championship series. They're now known as the football playoffs, the college football playoffs. I'm still old school. I call it bowl championship series. But USC still has an outside, and I mean outside crack at the top four. So I'm going to go with the Trojans because they actually have legitimate chance to slide in if everything falls right.
Yeah, they do have a chance. They absolutely do. I would really pay attention to right now. You would have seen my top 10 on Twitter that I always do every single week, and sometimes gets a little bit of a buzz. Not anything too crazy, but here or there. You know, Dom and I had that conversation where TCU's getting ranked at that 4 spot. I just think Tennessee's a better football team. They've only lost to Georgia. I think they beat TCU head to head. Yeah, I understand the whole conference champion thing, but I think you need to put in who's the best team. And now I'd make the argument as well. What if Tennessee drops another game before the end of the season? What if TCU falls as well? Does the winner of the game, obviously winner of the game between Ohio State and Michigan, make it to the Big Ten championship? They should win the Big Ten championship then, regardless of which team it is. Winner gets in. Does the loser of the game get in? That's actually a really good possibility. And I'd argue even if USC goes undefeated, either Ohio State or Michigan with 1 loss might make it in over USC. That being said, USC needs to put up a good performance here against UCLA. USC ranked 7th. They're on the road against number 16 UCLA. UCLA not really being added to the Big Ten because of their football fandom. They really don't have much in the stands ever. Basketball, some other points there, some other sports, they're a good addition. USC also going to be a big addition. So fun to see 2 future Big Ten teams going in that are ranked right now going up against each other. But we're on the same page. I think Caleb Williams, the Trojans, they get it done. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. I have 34-27, enough for USC to win, but they're still not having as convincing of wins as I think they need to find a way to really climb up that table, and time starting to tick down, really not working in their favor.
One of those non-Big Ten games I never miss. There's a few games every single year that if I can line it up perfectly, I make sure I'm home. I'm ready to watch it. That's one of them. Always enjoy that game a lot. Texas, Oklahoma, another one. There's a bunch. I won't get into all of them. Auburn, Alabama. I could go on and on. But yeah, those are just 3 that I always make sure to be in front of the television.
So Thanksgiving, right around the corner. It's coming up quickly, which means, of course, the Saturday right after Thanksgiving, always that Ohio State-Michigan game. We're going to talk about both teams here. You can't look too far ahead. You obviously know that's going to be a big collision, a big clash, but neither of you want to drop a game. Both teams want to go in to the game undefeated. So we're going to start in the Big Ten. And it's Big Ten for both of these games, actually. But the official Big Ten matchup, let's talk about number 2, Ohio State, going up against Maryland on the road. Now, it's a Maryland team that they've picked up plenty of wins. They're bowl eligible. They're not a bad team, but it's going to be a tough test. Though I do have to remind everybody, not too long ago, quite a few years ago, Maryland really tested Ohio State on the road at Maryland. So that is something to pay attention to. Now they're getting out of that bad weather, but it's not supposed to be gorgeous in Maryland or anything. I think they're projecting around mid to high 40s. Still feels warm compared to the snowy weather here at the moment in this place. So maybe you'll see some more points go up on the board. Vince, does Ohio State roll, or does Maryland at least test them?
They roll. I think they win by several touchdowns. And I'm not trying to make light of this because I'm someone who's had 5 concussions in my life, and I take brain injuries very serious. But that really is truly the game that you referenced with Maryland when they gave Ohio State some fits that started giving Urban Meyer the headaches to the point where he ended up quitting, stepping away like shortly after that. I remember that as being like one of his headache games he referenced afterwards in like a press conference that there's actually parts of that game he doesn't even remember. So that's how crazy that is. But I do think I agree with you on the fact that Maryland is much improved this year. That we've talked about them a few times, how much better they have looked. However, and you're going to hear me echo the same statement when it comes to the Michigan game here in a second, I think both teams right now, Ohio State and Michigan, are playing their best football. They truly are. that Northwestern game for Ohio State, I really think that was an anomaly. What are you going to do with weather like that, right? They did their best. You're always going to have maybe a slight hiccup, but at the end of the day, when you're winning by multiple touchdowns, that's truly all you can ask for. I think Ohio State rolls, and not to jump the gun, but I think you know who I'm picking in the next game.
Yeah, Ohio State, 27.5-point favorites as of midweek. They are going to blow out Maryland in this game. They really face bad weather against Northwestern. And actually, people need to give credit to Northwestern in the sense of Pat Fitzgerald runs a good program there.
Yep.
They don't quite have the talent. They're struggling this season, but they still have a physical defense. So in that weather, that front seven being physical, it made it tough. It made it challenging. Northwestern's problem is they have the lack of ability on the outside with the skill position players compared to some of those other top programs. That's why they've more so struggled this season. You get bad weather, that plays to the strength of Northwestern, which is their offensive line, their defensive line, and that's really why they made things interesting against Ohio State. Now, the following week, Ohio State improving, looking better against Indiana. Wasn't flawless, but they played a pretty good game. They still put up a lot of points. I think it continues to get better this week. I think everybody in that Northwestern game was starting to overreact. I said I was happy they were tested. Others are saying, no, they need to blow them out. I understand the style points thing, but here's what I know from all the years of watching Ohio State. The years that they either have a game where they get tested and they struggle in that game and shouldn't have struggled, or they lost at some point during the season, those are the years they actually do things later in the season where they maybe make it to the college football playoff. They win a national championship. Remember the 2014 championship team, they lost beginning of the season.
They got smoked
to Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when they've had success. It's the years that they steamroll everybody that they end up falling flat on their face because they didn't find things that were weaknesses that they could correct because nobody exposed it until they hit a game where they lose. When you get teams exposing some weaknesses, that gives you something to work on. If they can get it corrected, then expect it to not be exposed again. So I like that they've had a couple games that they were tested and they haven't just steamrolled everyone, because that means they might be better prepared for the college football playoff. And I'll let you, I'm sure you got another point on that.
Oh, yeah. I love that subject. Go ahead.
But I'll finish this up by saying Ohio State continues to do what they've been doing. I think Stroud's actually going to have a big game where he's been passing for 3, 4, 5 touchdowns a game, but it's only been 280 yards, 290 yards. I think this is like a 350, 400-yard passing game for Stroud. I think he lets loose a little bit more. Ekbuka, Harrison, I think they have big games. And I think they get Julian Fleming back involved. He hasn't seen too many touches. And he's had a couple drops as well. I think you need to get him going. So that's what I expect from this team. I've got them winning 42-17 handily and getting well prepared for the Michigan game.
So I'll make this quick, but I do agree with everything you just said. I want fans out there to look back to my personal favorite Buckeye team, the 2002 national championship team, where yes, they went undefeated, but their last 5 victories that year were all one possession wins, okay, within 7 points or less. Obviously the double overtime game for the national championship, Michigan down to last possession, Holy Buckeye against Purdue, a nail biter against Illinois, a nail biter against Penn State. Go back and look at that 2002 team and you'll see that. Cole kind of took my thunder there. I was going to bring up the national championship team of the most recent one from 2014. It's funny, my daughter Maggie was like 1 year old, but I remember kind of like holding her watching the game together and being like distraught that we lost. Only to 3 months later where they blow out Oregon for the national championship. So yeah, but the other point I wanted to make about this is that last year they lost to Michigan, and then they didn't look very good against Utah in the bowl game. Yes, they won, but Utah was able to again exploit the lack of physicality from the offense and defensive lines of Ohio State. Right. And that was the one thing Ryan Day stressed in this offseason, is that they were going to be a more physical football team. I know this is not the Climate Tech Ohio State Buckeye show, so we can move on. But I just think that was a great point because that is what they've done. They've looked at that Utah tape from last year a lot and Michigan, and you can see how much improved they are in the trenches.
Yeah, and then we turn to Michigan, number 3. They're going up against Illinois. Illinois was ranked as of last week until they lost to Purdue. They've gone on a little bit of a skid. I have a good running back in Brown. DeVito's been pretty decent at quarterback. But can they hang with the Wolverines? That's the question. Of course, it is in the big house, Vince.
Yeah, Wolverines are laser focused. They're going to run right through them.
Yeah, agreed. I think their defense gets the stops. They get it done. But I do think Brown actually shows off his ability. I think it's going to be a fun head-to-head running back matchup between Brown and Corum. They've both had a lot of carries this season, a lot of yards, plenty of touchdowns between the two. So it's a great matchup between solid running backs. I had Michigan winning 38-20. It is I think the spread there on that, I think Michigan's actually an 18-point favorite, and I just so happen to have them winning by 18 points. So, I think Vegas is pretty much spot on with that. I think they get it done, and I'm looking forward to the following weekend, but neither of these teams can overlook their opponents.
One of the few times we're 3 for 3 on agreements for college.
Absolutely. Not too many times we've had that so far this year. As we move to the NFL picks, we talked about our records. Vince, last week, rough week, 5-9 on the week. I was 8-6. Not my best week ever, but I still had that winning record last week. And because of that, I pushed my advantage up to 4 wins. So the comeback needs to start here for Vince, as I have a record of 90-61. And Vince has a record of 86-65.
The largest lead you've ever had is 6 games. So I went back and looked at that too. You led by 6 games last year, right around Halloween. It's a game I've referenced time and time again. Colts get screwed on a no-call interference against the Titans on Halloween. I was watching it from the press box. Yep. I was able to turn it around. This year, I've not gotten that luck. Thursday nights have killed me. Let's roll.
Well,
they've killed me.
You still get a lot of luck sometimes. From like,
a little bit.
How in the world? At the beginning of the year, there were a lot of games. As of late, the luck has started to fall off.
Yes.
I'll be honest, though. Here's the thing. I made one mistake last week. I really did. I was 50-50 on picking the Commanders because I thought the Eagles' win streak was going to end at some point. And I'm like, what better than a division game? But it being in Philadelphia had me going, I just don't think it ends here against Taylor Heineke and the Commanders without Chase Young, fully back. I just don't think they can do it. And I went with the Eagles, but at the same time, I actually was thinking about that one. Most Eagles games this year, I've just been Eagles. That one was actually one I sat on and thought about it. So I'm kicking myself for that, but still a good enough week. I can't harp on that one. Now,
my heart's not breaking for you, Cole.
Now we'll go to the marquee matchup here. This one, the New York Jets going up against the Patriots in New Jersey. Of course, they play in New Jersey. It's not in New York. Let's get the facts straight there with where their stadium actually is. But the Jets, when they played against the Patriots, they should have won. They pulled a Browns against the Jets. They choked against the Patriots, and they always seem to do that against Bill Belichick's Patriots. It's been quite a while since the Jets have won against New England. Now, New England's the favorite here in Foxborough, but the Jets should have won that last matchup. So I'm going to start this one off. I was thinking, can the Jets be able to get the win in this game? I think they're going to make it close. I think they're going to make it interesting. But just with how well Bill Belichick coaches his team, I think that the Patriots end up coming away with the win. I think if the Jets were playing the Patriots again at home, they might actually win this game. My gut instinct is telling me if that weather pattern makes its way out that direction, I trust the running game with Ramondre Stevenson for the Patriots more so than the Jets with a new James Robinson to their system and Michael Carter. Losing Breece Hall hurt them a little bit there. They tried to rebound with Robinson, but he's still new, learning their playbook, getting involved. I just think that power of Ramondre Stevenson is going to help the Patriots. I think it's going to be more of a defensive game. Got it being close, but I'm going with New England.
Yeah, I think the Jets should try to make a trade at the time with the 49ers to get Wilson. I think he showed everybody last week just how good he is. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, going to Christian McCaffrey is an upgrade, and that's why the Niners did it, and I understand that. But he's pretty dangerous. Jets at that time might have made that move. Regardless of that, I actually agree with you for all the same reasons. I think if weather does come into a play in this, the Patriots are a little bit more seasoned coached, clearly with Bill Belichick,
Mm-hmm.
but they also have an unbelievable record in December. And yes, I know we're still in November. I get it. But December style weather. So I'm going to go with the Patriots as well. That one, though, very tough. Again, going with the better team, and I would even throw weather out. I still think the Patriots are the better team. I think they've gotten past that little QB distraction that was going on. Do they stick with Mac Jones long term? I have no idea. I truly don't. But for this week, I think they know what they're doing. Going to go with Belichick.
Yeah, so for Sunday Night Football, a place where weather won't be a factor because it's at SoFi Stadium, it's the Kansas City Chiefs visiting the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, earlier in the season on Thursday Night Football, it was a close matchup. It was fun. I really enjoyed that game. I think that was probably the best Thursday night game we've seen so far on Amazon Prime this season. Can we see those same fireworks? That's the question. I'm gonna I'm gonna toss this to you here first for your pick. But what I do want to bring up again is we're still waiting on that Chargers team to be healthy. They've still had their moments of looking good from time to time, but Herbert's not quite the same. I would argue this. He wasn't the same a few weeks ago because of the ribs. I think he's starting to look himself again. The problem is he doesn't have his top two receivers. So there's definitely some limitations there. Now, the Chiefs defense, their secondary, they give up plenty of passing yards. So even if it's Josh Palmer and DeAndre Carter out there again, they're probably going to give up passing yards, but it's just not the same explosiveness as when you have Mike Williams and when you have Keenan Allen. So will those guys play? I think that's the huge question mark here still midweek. But Vince, the Chargers, can they rebound regardless of who's out there? Or do the Chiefs win this matchup?
They can. They could definitely rebound, but they won't. I think I'm going to go with a better team as I usually do. I shouldn't say I think, because I already have it written down here. Going with Kansas City, going with my thought that even when the Chargers are fully healthy, I still think Kansas City is the better team. Now, that being said, I almost feel like a broken record with this. We have talked about the Chargers almost as far back as from when they were San Diego, about how we have felt about them and how we think how good they could be. But again, it's another one of those put up or shut up type things. They cost me a pretty big point on Sunday night. Took them. You had the 49ers. We all know that result, right? That's a game that should have wiped the 49ers with a fully healthy team. Even if they get both receivers back this week, it's going to take them a little bit of time to get readjusted, to get those legs underneath them again. All that being said, I'm not very comfortable with the Kansas City secondary, as you mentioned, but Sunday Night Football, they seem to turn it on for. I still think as of right now, it's them and Buffalo in the AFC. So I'm going to go with Kansas City for another week. They've been my savior at times this year. Going to keep playing them.
Yeah, you and I both agreed at the beginning of the season. We said that the Chargers on paper, if healthy, could very well win the division and maybe should win the division. And we thought the Chiefs, are still loaded, are really good. We thought both of them were actually pretty compatible. I think I only had a 1-game difference between the two. Expected the Chargers to win the division if they stayed healthy, and the Chiefs actually to be the number one wild card team. Well, the Chiefs have stayed fairly healthy in general. They're still playing Chiefs football, what we expected. The Chargers have not. They've had the health issues that we discussed. They still have a good record at 5-4, but they're not the Chargers that they could have been. They really got to continue to find a way to get their guys back, continue to find a way to get Austin Eckler the ball, find a way to really unleash Justin Herbert. You have to get Mike Williams and Keenan Allen back. I know about the injuries on the defensive side, but if you're the Chargers, defensive football, even though you have good pieces on defense, we were never expecting the Chargers to have low-scoring games, and that's how they'd win. they're a team that's known for their shootouts in the last couple years.
Yep.
You need to have that offense rolling and really play in shootouts and be scoring points. They need to get that going if they want to have a chance to make it to the playoffs. I'm going to say, as much as they need this win, and I think they could do it, I'm going with the Chiefs just because of my questions there with the injury issues there for the Chargers. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun Sunday night football game. I believe this one got flexed. So this is back-to-back weeks of Chargers on Sunday Night Football. Last one didn't go so well, but we'll see if they can rebound on Sunday night. I think you and I were both picking the same team, so if the Chargers do end up going out and winning this game, I think you and I will both still be happy about it because we're not on opposite pages there. We both picked the Chiefs, but regardless, it will be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, it's about that time. Absolutely. Yeah. It is. We'll see. I mean, I know me and you both, I'll go back and look if I really care that much to do so, but I'm almost positive me and you have picked the Chargers on Thursday Night Football against Kansas City. I think maybe all but once at the last 3 seasons because they came to see playing on the Thursday nights. So, yep, we'll see. And so far, as I'm looking at it, we have 2 similarities. Not giving any more away here, but I was thinking about that. We've never picked completely identical, so this might be the week. We'll see.
Well, we'll switch to the upset pick because this is usually where we have different selections. So with the upset pick, and I'm going to start this one off here, going down through the list, and a lot of these actually, again, I picked the favorite. I did that a lot last week. I'm picking the favorites quite a bit this week as well. There are some weeks where I take a lot of upset picks. This I don't think is one of them. I've really got 2 specifically. But I'm the one I feel really confident about and I feel good about. Here's the main reason I feel good about it. I put out a tweet here. Thursday night game, I picked the Panthers over the Falcons. And it was the right selection. The Panthers came out, they ran the ball well. Mariota did not look good. And Mariota's had some decent games, but he hasn't been over the top wonderful. The reason they've won games is their defense has performed better than what I expected beginning of the season, but they've run the ball well. They ran the ball well against the Browns. Mariota's done enough, but as a passer, he's not stepping up in the pocket, rifling that ball in there. Again, he has a tendency to float it. Who knows what he was doing with that one where he went to the ground and floated that one up in the air. Desmond Ridder should honestly get that starting job, take that over. He's a guy who's a good pocket passer. He has a good arm. People really ragged on this quarterback class coming in, and it's not the greatest quarterback class, but by far and away, on YouTube, I said that he would be the number 1 quarterback. He hasn't gotten his opportunity yet. Malik Willis has played. Kenny Pickett's played. We've seen a couple of those guys. They haven't been impressive.
Nope.
Ridder doesn't have a high bar to meet when it comes to the rest of those rookie quarterbacks. I think he steps in there and he plays well. Reason why I'm going with the Chicago Bears here for my upset pick of the week is because Justin Fields has been lights out.
Yep.
He's honestly looked like the new coming of Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson. I mean, he's running all over the place. They're finally letting him unleash, and they're letting him run that ball. And that is when he is so dangerous. And then once he starts running and they start having to key on that, he starts hitting wide open receivers, finds his tight ends. I mean, he has been a nightmare for people going up against him in fantasy. He's turned into a huge fantasy threat, and he's putting his offense in positions to win. Now, they move guys on defense, so their defense isn't as strong as what it was at the start of the season. But they've got a lot of young pieces. They're still building, but I think they're going to be able to put up enough points, and I don't trust the Falcons to make the move to Ridder yet. They seem to still be sticking to Mariota. I think it's going to cost them this week. But if it costs them this week and they keep slipping off of that contention in the division, I think Ridder time is going to be calling more and more and more, and the Bears are going to be the ones to do it.
I agree completely. And it's funny, too, because I have Chicago. I actually picked 3 upsets. I'm going to give you the other 2 here in a second. I'll make this one my official upset pick. A lot of the same reasons. I'm picking the better team, not the better record, not the team that has more to play for, Chicago knows they have no chance of winning the division.
Right.
Their chance of making the playoffs, a little bit better, but probably slim to none, right? So you look at that and then you tell yourself, and then it's in Atlanta, and you think, man, okay, so the Falcons, they're still a game back in the division, they're right there. But at the end of the day, like Cole said, Chicago has the better quarterback. I don't care what anybody says. Fields is playing out of his mind, and it's not even that. He's playing to his capability, quite frankly.
Right.
This is something, so I take back that he's not playing out of his mind. He's playing the way he should be. He is being utilized finally, okay? And then you have the two running back set. Now you have Claypool coming in. He has way more weapons around him than anybody thought in the beginning of the season. A lot of people in the beginning of the season said that Chicago had no offense. Now, I'm shocked how they lost last week. I thought they should have beat the Lions.
Yeah.
That's a bad loss for them. 3-7 is a terrible record. 4-6, it'd be a much different story right now. That's the case, though. Going with Chicago, I think they're the better team, better offense. I'm going to give you two other ones real quick. Thursday Night Football has absolutely killed me. I've always said never pick the road team on a Thursday night because they have less time to travel, to prepare, all that stuff. This time I'm breaking my own rule. I'm picking, again, what I feel is the better team, and that's the Tennessee Titans. So Another one of my upsets this week, the Tennessee Titans at Green Bay. I am not at all impressed with the Green Bay. I think they're a hot mess. Yeah, they're coming off a big emotional win over their former coach this past weekend against Dallas. But that just seems like a train that is ready to go off the rails at any second. And that's been happening for a while now. I'm going with Tennessee. Tennessee's fully healthy again. I expect them to get this big road win.
Yeah, and surprising that the Packers won against the Cowboys. I also took the Titans in this game.
Okay, perfect. So then the other one, Las Vegas. I'm a glutton for punishment, man. I can't stop picking them. It's like picking that scab. You just keep going back. And I'm picking them against my favorite football team too, which shows you how nuts my mind is right now. So the 2-7 Las Vegas Raiders are head and tails better than the Denver Broncos at 3-6. The Broncos defense is out of this world good. They get rid of Bradley Chubb, which was asinine. It's frustrating because they're such a good defense. To have the horrendous record they do. You look at it, they give about like 17 points a game, but I think this NFL season has made zero sense so far. I'm going with the team that I feel is better. I don't care about expectations, anything else. I'm picking the better team. Gosh darn it, it's the Las Vegas Raiders. They need to start winning. So that's my 3 picks of upsets.
I hear you, because I could really put you in some distress and pain here if I chose the Broncos and then you have to root against the Broncos. That has happened before. The defense for the Broncos is better than the Raiders' defense. Yes. The Raiders' offense is better than the Broncos' offense. But I would say the gap between the defense of the Broncos and the defense of the Raiders, and then the offense of the Raiders, the offense of the Broncos, I think that offensive gap is greater than the defensive gap between the two teams. Yeah. That would be my argument here right now. The Broncos can't find a way to put up points. They only put up 10 against the Titans, a very low-scoring game. All you need is one more point than the other team to win a football game, and that's why I also chose the Las Vegas Raiders. We're on the same page with all 3 of those that you chose as the upset picks. Those were the 3 that I put. Again, I made the Bears one, the official one, the one I'm most confident about, but we're on the same page for all 3.
Fans, make sure you check out the article after this podcast. Go over to KeyOnSports.com where you will see our full picks, because I believe I have a weird feeling for the first time ever they might be identical. We'll see. But now I got a strange feeling that's where it's going. All right, Browns time.
Maybe as we get to the Browns, we'll see if any of us, pull the crazy move and end up going with the Browns here. I'm going to toss this to you here first, but let me put it this way. There's still a lot going on right now midweek. There's still a lot of talk. Again, I don't know what to believe. I mean, I've heard 6 inches of snow. I've heard 6 feet of snow. How much snow is there actually going to be in Buffalo? None of us actually know. Will the people in Buffalo be able to open their doors come Sunday morning, or will they have snow up over their heads? I have no idea. But regardless, it could be one of those classic like Snow Bowl type of games where both teams really need to run the ball. And actually, the weather could somewhat benefit the Browns if they just have to strictly run the ball and get on the ground. But the other question is the weather going to be so bad that they pull a last second move here, keep the game on Sunday and say, hey, Detroit's on the road. Let's go play in the Dome. Maybe Indy. I think Indy, no, Indy's at home. But Detroit might be the closest one where a Dome, could we go and play at a different stadium just to get out of the weather because, things might not be too safe with how much snow there will be. I don't necessarily know. I'm sure the officials, the NFL, they're paying attention to what's going on. But tomorrow, is really, as we're doing this show, really the next couple of days is when it's going to pick up and really start to hit. So we'll wait and see, how much that snow falls. I think they'll play in Buffalo. I doubt they're going to move the location, but I mean, that snow could certainly be a factor. What do you think, Vince?
I'm sorry, I have to laugh. At 40 years old, I've seen every kind of bad thing happen to the Cleveland Browns as humanly possible. Let me put it to you this way. The more snow on the ground, if it's played in Buffalo, favors the Cleveland Browns. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it does. Buffalo has no running game. Singletary is a third down back. He's a great fantasy back because he's going to get a lot of catches. He might bust a big play here and there. They're all passing the ball. Josh Allen, sore shoulder. I mean, if Buffalo ever needed a running game, it's this weekend. I laugh uncontrollably on the inside because I know the Browns' luck. Everybody's going to wake up in Cleveland on Saturday morning and be like, oh my God, yeah, it's confirmed. 5 feet of snow in Buffalo. People can't get out of their houses. Then they're going to move the game to Detroit, and Cleveland's going to lose by about 70 points. You can't have that game on turf. You put that in a dome? You put Josh Allen in a dome with those threats? He'll wake up on Sunday morning and he'll have a spinach. He'll be busting out of his shirt. Yep. His shoulder will be healed. I know the Cleveland luck. Everything points to Cleveland. Everything points, to the Cleveland Browns winning this game, and that is why they won't. Buffalo, I don't care if there's 80 feet of snow or if there's 8 inches. I agree with Cole. No one truly knows until they wake up and look at the ground. I hate snow, by the way. Absolutely hate it. All that being said, I think Buffalo wins. I don't care if this game's played on whatever. I've already used enough analogies for one night. They're the better team. I'm so pissed. All I can say is this. We have 2 weeks until Deshaun Watson. I love to tell this story. First time I ever met Cole McDaniel, we knew each other about 18 seconds. He says, I think one of us said, are you a Browns fan? Immediately got in the conversation. I said, yeah, I really wish I would have picked Watson. Here we are, buddy boy, 5 years later or whatever it's been, and we're 2 weeks away. So just give me to the next 2 weeks.
Same conversation. We were both talking about they should have picked Watson. We were also talking about, I told you that Josh Allen should be that guy.
You did?
And they didn't. They didn't go with him. So we're waiting on Watson in 2 weeks. We're playing against Josh Allen. It is all coming full circle. Now, you mentioned it. The Bills, not the greatest run game, but they're not a bad run team. Singletary's actually improved this season. He's made a step up. The offensive line started to clear some holes for him. I really like James Robinson. I think he has a lot of potential. Dalvin's younger brother. He has plenty of speed. Nice third down back right now. A young guy. Nyheim Hines being added is good for another third down back. A good returner. But it's not that power type of guy. Here's the only problem. The Browns front seven I actually would say it's not just those D tackles. I think Miles plays a factor in that need to stop the run. He's a good pass rusher. Against the run, sometimes shows some weakness. We really need to get Clowney going. And those linebackers being injured, JOK, Walker being out for the season, that just hurts. So that front group, they're getting gashed on those runs. I think the Bills are going to look like a good running team, even in the snow. Don't forget, Josh Allen is a very competent runner himself. I think my gut feeling is that we actually see a lot of Josh Allen carries as well. He puts that head down. He just rumbles forward. And I actually think there's going to be a lot of points because I think you're going to see turnovers on your side of the field in awkward spots. You're going to see some kicks, the old school Phil Dawson snow type of game where, he's kicking field goals. I just think that's what we're going to see. I actually have the Bills putting up a lot of points and Buffalo wins this game.
Well, Cole, there's only one thing left to say. It's going to be snowing like crazy this weekend, allegedly in Buffalo. And then when it snows in Ohio, here in Northeast Ohio, where do we want to turn for the very best in climate control?
That is Climate Tech Inc. And for 48 years, family owned and operated, Climate Tech has been the premier company for all HVAC services for both residential and commercial. They have it covered. They offer free estimates on equipment replacement and 24-hour emergency service. Visit them at climate-tech.com. That's the end of the week 11 show. Vince trying to play catch up, but going to be hard this week if we have basically all the same picks. Look at the picks on keyonsports.com. For Cole McDaniel, Vince McKee, everybody, have a great night. Enjoy another week of football.